In 2022, we had 3.18 million acres planted. And just like with any other year, there's probably about 50,000, 100,000 acres that didn't get harvested just because of different things. And so we were, right over 3 million acres on harvest last year. And the final state average yield for 2022 was 52 bushels an average. And so that was tied a state record that we had in 2021. It's always a guessing game, especially this early in the season, since 2% of the crop's been planted. A lot of that yield is going to be dictated on what happens in June, July, and even into August. And so if we have a really good year like we had in 2021, we could expect to have pretty good yields. And hopefully we can get some early planted stuff planted. The first 2 weeks of April is where we really maximize yield for planting dates in southern Arkansas. Once you get to central Arkansas, it's about mid-April to the 1st of May. And then once you get to north Arkansas, it's kind of that first 2 weeks of May. So we're just now trying to, really getting into that planting window to really maximize yield. And so hopefully with the weather we have coming down the line, we can get a lot of beans planted. But again, farmers are going to be, trying to get soybeans planted along with rice and corn, and then cotton's not too far down the line on it. So it's really getting ready to be pretty busy. It seems like we've kind of been in this pattern for the last several years. It's not as wet as it was in 2019. At this point of the planting window, we'd had rain, seemed like, for months, because it started the fall of 18 and pretty much went all the way through to June of 2019. And so 2019, that's when the Arkansas River got out, the Mississippi River got out, had well below 3 million acres. It was the lowest acreage in 2019 that we had for soybeans since 1961. So the last 3 years, we've kind of gained a little bit over that. And so we finally broke over the 3 million mark last year, and hopefully continue to kind of build that up. But, we're just, in competition with rice, corn, and cotton. And depending on what those commodities do, soybean acreage is going to fluctuate some varying degree. And then again, the longer it stays wet, the more beans we're going to plant, just because, those other commodities really start to take a hit on their yield as they get later and later in the planting window. We've got a lot of land that's already ready to go. And so I think some of that's already been planted, but we still got quite a bit of our acreage that got some tillage last year. So I think we're ahead of the game compared to where we have been the last 3 years. But hopefully we can kind of get a dry pattern. But everybody always says, we're only 10 days away from a drought. So that's always kind of the running joke anytime you're in Arkansas. So there have been some beans planted in some of the dry areas. Talking to a farmer yesterday, they got planted about a week ago, and those beans had popped out of the ground, in about 5 days.